He's dead to us. He's gone. He's not doing anything for us up there on the hill. He didn't do
well,
anything.
this is not the segue I was hoping for. I got to be completely honest with you.
Listen,
You're a train wreck of a human being. You got to calm down. You can talk about this stuff later. I need you to take a deep breath. Are you okay? You going to take a deep breath? That's an exhale. I need you to inhale. That's close. All right. Well, to everybody out there suffering, thank you for suffering with us. We are going to bring in a guest right now, and hopefully it heats things up. Commodore, I swear to you, you will have time to talk about whatever the hell you wrote down in a post-apocalyptic, no sports world that you're dying to get out of your mouth. I swear to you, I'll give you time. But joining us right now is a man who I would love to hear what he has to say, somebody who's keeping his players motivated in a pandemic world. He is the coach of varsity football on the Hill at Curtis High School. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the one and only Pete Gambardella. Gambo, how the hell are you?
Danny, how are you? Commodore, nice to see you set up pretty good. You get yourself nice and relaxed there?
Yeah, how you doing, Coach?
Doing well. Can't complain. So I got my AirPods in too, trying to make it like you. All I know is I'm staring at Danny's freeze frame right now. His whole face just froze on my phone, so that's scary. That's not a pleasant sight.
I'm sorry about that. At least the Commodore's shuffling papers over and over. That's all I hear in my headphones. It's just him shuffling papers with nothing on them.
I'm looking for stuff here. I'm very busy.
Those are the Curtis High School snack stand bills from 1993. That he's
How many hot dogs did you sell today? I don't know. I got to ask Papa Nia. Papa Nia's in charge of hot dogs.
1 for 1. 1 for you, 1 for me. 1 for you.
Peter. Those were the days.
Yes, good old days.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
How are we doing?
Listen, we're doing well. Thanks for coming on the bro. I don't know why the Commodore is so excited. He thinks, and listen, he knows you a long time, but he gets excited to talk to, like, he thinks he's talking to, like, Vince Lombardi. He's like, Gambo's coming on the show, and he's lost his mind all afternoon. So I hope you're as excited as he is.
Meanwhile, he's got some stories that he could probably sell on the black market that could get us all in trouble.
That's his contingent.
Down there in 61.
I'm not going there. I'm sitting in the hot tub right now where the hot tub used to be.
I'm shocked. At least you have clothes on and not a bathroom.
Yeah. Well, we have pictures now. Be careful. We have pictures. I have evidence.
Yes.
It's all good. But Peter, listen, let's talk about football a little bit and what you're doing to keep these kids going. Let me just lead it by, and Dan always says, what do you think, you're a real reporter? But if you're going to take a few minutes of your time to talk to me, I'm going to take a little time to prepare to talk to you. Yes. How in the world, right now, first off, your job as the assistant principal at Curtis, which we know, has a lot of responsibility with it. And with that, you're also the head football coach and probably a number of other things. Balancing that now with teaching at home issues, coupled with what are you doing with your football program? How's it going for you up there on the hill, Peter?
Every day is a different adventure. I think that it's the toughest thing is like the uncertainty part. Like we knew that you go into a spring break or a snowstorm, that there's end in sight. Our toughest part right now is balancing the unknown. Like the spring season's just abruptly turned around on a Friday and said, all right, everybody's on pause. And then they just canceled. So I think that, the uncertainty of when we will get a chance to start. And, it's still only early May, but I think that's, the part that's a little nerve wracking is the uncertainty of when we will start. Because, we believe that we will continue and we will get out there at some point this year. So I think that's the biggest thing that we're going on. I think one of the things that you got to hang your hat on is that, everybody needs a little hope and opportunity. And, our hope is that we're going to get a great season in. And, when that opportunity comes, we're going to have a chance to seize it, because there is no bad days. They're just opportunities. There's chances.
Well, let me ask you, Pete, that's motivational and it's inspiring. And half full kind of mentality. But what are some of the things that you are able to do now, right? Because you can't physically see the kids. So how are you kind of keeping in touch with them and trying to lead them in the right direction when you can't see them in person?
Well, we set up the digital world of a Google Classroom for our players. So each morning they have to go in and at least check their attendance, so that at least I know they're active. Then we've also teamed up with an app called The Band, and it's an opportunity to breaks away from group texts and stuff like that, so that we could send mass information back and forth. We've done a couple of good, fun, laughable videos with the kids. Coaches challenge, coaches doing push-ups, trying to challenge the kids, just trying to keep them engaged. But one of, I think, the biggest things that we try to do as a staff is we rotate kids around, and get an eyeball to eyeball at certain times, whether it's within a group session on a Google Meet or Zoom or a one-on-one FaceTime. I think that, you try to go at least no more than 2 days in a row without some sort of emotional contact with a kid, whether it be a text or an actual face-to-face. We call it eyeball to eyeball, just so that we can see them, see that they're okay, and and basically talk about anything but football, and just to make sure that they're okay.
And you give them exercises and stuff like that to kind of guide them as well?
Yeah, we've been lucky. We've had a kid that went to Curtis, never played football, but has done some great things with us, that really started to do our strength and conditioning with us over the last few months before we had to take the break. And he's been giving us things to do with have them do at home by themselves. And and it's all different, the same way it's all different restrictions. All different people have to live in their parents' households and follow their rules. It's some kids have a little bit more freedom and they can go to a park and do some workouts. Some people can't leave their house, so
Peter,
we're just trying to be. Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. Keeping these kids in shape. Absolutely. You're going to give them exercise routines. You could follow up on them. They could have checklists, do what they got to do. There's accountability involved for all your student athletes, as well as keeping their grades up. But let me cut right to the chase, Coach. How many days does the Board of Education require you guys to practice before you can have a game? What's that? Because as we move ahead with this, and we don't know when football's going to start, what's that number, Coach?
The
number from the time you get them.
It depends on if you're talking PSAL or the normal human being. The PSAL still, their trainers are smarter than anybody else, so they don't know which way is the rule. But last year, the state came up with a regulation that you need 10 days of practice before you can compete. That's all that they're requiring. Okay. That might change a little bit because they assume that you're working out and conditioning before your official start date. But the state regs say that it's 10 days of practice before you can compete.
So that's really good news. That's not a lot of time at all.
No, it's not a lot of time at all. But at the same time, it gives you some flexibility. So if you only have to get 10, and you take 15 to 17 days in a preseason, shortened preseason, I think that at least gets you, in the realm. I think that you want to make sure that the kids are in a good enough shape that they can compete at a high level. But at the same time, sometimes it will be sloppy football if that was the case, and sloppy football is better than no football. But sloppy football is a lot better than no football.
Absolutely.
Well, absolutely. But you also want to protect your kids and your players at all times here. Let's talk about equipment preparation. With the PSAL, getting your equipment refurbished, your helmets fixed up, whatever you need to get going. Is all of that in place to go?
All that's done.
Is that enough?
Yeah. Everything's been out. Uniforms have been ordered. Everything's been actually within the last few weeks have been shipped and delivered. I'm always ahead to make sure that I want everything in my place before the summer break hits. The only thing that we're waiting on is helmets, because right now where we do our reconditioning, Rydell was not deemed essential. So their warehouse has been shut down, but they're also in Pennsylvania, so they will probably ease in a little sooner than later. So once they're, all those helmets have been, refurbished and sent back, then, that's the last piece that we're awaiting. So the
whoever
equipment is in shape.
Okay, but whoever holds the helmets holds the season.
Right. But I'm sure that's not going to hold anything up. And as I said, you're being optimistic because it is only May yet.
Yeah. Now, and all other schools in the PSAL and the other leagues around the CHSFL, they basically all have to be in the same boat, right, Coach?
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. We do speak often, as a group, and we chat individually. You got different people that you talk to on a more regular basis than others. But I think that we're all in the same boat. Like, no one's in a pandemic. You're not going to go out there and try to have some illegal practices because, the safety and the well-being of the players and the coaches and everybody is at stake. So I think you kind of stay away from that. But I think that we're all trying to do different and unique things just to keep our players engaged.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gambo, I don't know if you noticed, but we actually have a following. I always joke that it's negative 5,000 people, but it's actually like 12 people, positive 12 people watch this show. And sometimes we get some people that join our broadcast. Shout out to you, Artie Schmidt, who says, way to go, Pete. I guess he thinks you're doing a good job. Sam Martin Jr. just joining into the broadcast. Rich Vitale with a question for you. And this is a question that we get a lot when it comes to football athletes and high school athletes in general. Why do most football coaches not allow their boys to cross-train with schools like a track team? Like, why don't football coaches want their players playing track? Coach Freddie Oliveri, when I was in high school, he never wanted his kids to run track. Is that still a mentality at Curtis, or is that gone?
That's been gone for a long time. I think I believe that multi-sport athletes are a prime. I think that Sam Martin Jr., who probably joined, is probably one of the most prolific recruits right now, and he's only he's a 2022 guy. As a basketball player, as well as Logan Bonds. 3 out of our 4 captains next year played multiple sports. So I think that it's just a matter of, exposing them and allowing them to get better in different things. And, there are things out there that schools want to see players do multiple things. They don't want people focused on one thing anymore. And I think, yeah.
You think that still applies across the board with the PSAL, or is it a school-by-school basis? And what about, what about Farrell and Peters and whatnot? Because I've heard a lot of different things that, especially in the parochial system, that you play football, you play football. Play baseball, you play baseball.
And you know what? I'm at Curtis, and that's all I care about.
Shots fired. I like it.
It's good.
That's all I care about. So when it goes on in other schools, doesn't amuse me. Curtis kids will be allowed to play other sports. And that's why so we've altered our schedules around different ways to make sure that you could play a different sport. For instance, a basketball kid. Basketball kids, it's been proven that lifting makes you a better player all around. It doesn't mess with your shot. It doesn't, so that misconception that, we've even got Coach Archibald and, was doing a lot of great workouts with Coach Shannon, lifting during the season. So I think that misconception has gone out the window. I said, the only thing we don't let them do is really you're not going to lift on the day of the game.
Yeah.
But, our 2 sport athletes, they lifted every day they had a practice. And if they didn't lift before their practice, they came and lifted after. So we totally allowed, that's totally, you need to get better. And as I said,
I agree.
In the springtime when our kids are playing lacrosse or running track, we practice at 6 a.m.
Your guys don't,
there's
no
conflict.
You don't teach your kids to do CrossFit, do you?
No, because that's only when they get old and move to Missouri. And they take their shirts and they have no shirts.
Bang! Shots fired.
There's one of your 12 followers right now. Hi, Pat.
Yep. He just that's stung. He's gonna angrily push a tractor tire across a farm parking lot somewhere. I know. Well, okay, good. Listen.
Well, let me ask you, Coach. Let me just go back here. I know it's you got a lot of things to do. Preparing for school tomorrow and taking care of AJ. Shout out to AJ and your daughter and your wife. And I just want to say that I watched your Facebook production there of all the coaches. And who was it? Was it Coach Mack? You Your D-line coach working with his dog Riley.
Amazing.
Always trying to find something to get done.
I was saying,
I'll tell you something. Do you still use those big elephant balls that we bought for you years ago up there?
There's a version,
Coach Mac, what are you training elephants up here?
No, they still use them for different techniques, and especially at this day and age when they really want you to limit contact during practice time. So you try to find new and innovative ways to make sure that we're tackling and blocking and doing all different things. So those things come in handy.
Yeah, they sure do. You guys, you just run a fantastic program up there on the hill, Coach. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. Your doors are always open for us, and we appreciate that.
Yes, let's plan on maybe we'll do a Nobody Cares sports show, live radio show one day for a game. Let's get some broadcasting back.
This might be all we have. This might be what the world's coming to. All you're going to have is Nobody Cares.
Interestingly enough, Coach, before we got into this whole lockdown, Danny and I were going to be working on the Jake's game, the All-Star game for basketball here in Staten Island.
And I were what?
Right.
We were, and we will. But one of the things that came up,
I can't hear a damn thing you're saying.
Can't hear a damn thing I'm saying. Peter, can you hear me? Nod your head if you can.
I got you.
Oh, okay.
The whole time you heard him? You heard him the whole time?
Yeah, he's talking about that you guys were going to do the Jake's game.
Right. And when we were dealing with Kyle McInerney out at Moore, he mentioned to me that the CHSFL, the football league, they're going to have every Catholic school in Staten Island play each other next year for the first time ever. Did you hear about that?
Yep, they changed some of their rankings. They're making some of those Catholic schools, and I don't know the nuances of everything, but some of those Catholic schools are moving up, and some of those Catholic schools are moving down. And however they rank them, they put them all in the same area. So at some point or another, they're all going to play each other.
Listen,
that's interesting.
Gambo, I got to be completely honest with you. I'm sick of the Commodore's journalistic questions. They're all phony anyway, but I appreciate them. Well, I appreciate them. I want to ask you, before we allow you to go spend time with your family, which even though you've seen them for 60 straight days, I'm sure right now you'd love to go in the other room with them and get this over with. I just have to ask you, do you have any interest in virtually meeting the Chinese bookie at all?
I don't know. It depends, unless he's got some good tips for me. What are we betting on this week?
I don't know. He's probably betting on horses in China.
Right. Korean baseball.
Make sure he's fully clothed.
I don't even think we should let him in. Well, listen, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show and taking time and letting us know. Hopefully you guys get started on time. I'll say this. Hopefully they don't take away high school football, right? Like if fantasy football goes away, if somehow all this turns into fantasy football going away, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to be okay with society. So,
Coach, I want to ask you one important question. One important question. Tom Marsala, who played at Tottenville, I played against Tom Marsala years ago.
Marsala.
He's back. I call him Marsala. I like that. Sounds better. I always, how I do with names. It's not important. Nobody cares, Peter. It's the first time I said it all night. Nobody cares. But anyhow, listen, Tommy's back up on the hill. He took over for the Seahawks up there. I thought that was going to be pretty interesting for Staten Island high schools. Hometown guy comes home, is up on hill, Division I football.
Listen, go.
It's terrible what happened with this pandemic. He can't get his hands into the community and get things going.
But
what do you feel about that? Are you excited?
Will you shut up? All right, go ahead.
I'm really excited. Just so you know, a little back history. Coach Vasella was at Boston University. He recruited me up there at that time. And when I got injured, I started my coaching career for Coach Vasella as a running backs coach up there and at Boston University. And when they dropped the program, I came back to Curtis. And I think Coach Vasella already is starting to make tremendous waves. He's brought in Mike Jones from Naval Prep. He just took our quarterback, Jerry Basciato, up to Wagner College. I know that they're hot on a few other players from Staten Island and New York City. So I think he knows how to win and coach. He's also bringing along Coach Munson from Tonville. So once June hits and Coach Munson officially retires from the Department of Education, he's going to be one of his assistant coaches. So you're going to definitely have a New York flavor up there.
You heard it here first, folks, on the Nobody Cares Sports Show.
It's
too
bad nobody heard that.
Yeah, I hear you. Nobody hears anything.
Yeah, I just seen. Listen, hold on. Stop. Before you go, all right, I want to put a picture up on the screen. Commodore asked me earlier. He said he wants to know why Gambo's not smiling in this picture. So have a look and just give us an explanation.
I was probably, it looked like I had like a little spit out, and I was just getting rid of it right before, Spike used to.
What's happening?
It was actually after Colgate, my first collegiate game. And, it was after the game, walking over to see my parents, and I think my father just took a random picture. So
yeah, we do those.
Parents are great for that.
Exactly.
We do those things.
That's good. Well, for some reason, the Commodore has that picture in his back room.
Right.
It's just hanging in the house at all times, like next to pictures of grandkids. He's got that picture hanging up. It's the weirdest thing.
That's it. We all know Drew would have been 44 tomorrow.
Wow. Drew Strong, 64. And I'll tell you, that number has popped up all day today around me. Yeah. So that makes perfect sense. He would be the perfect candidate for this show. He would definitely replace the Commodore. It would have been, I don't know. We probably would
bookie a run for his money.
Yeah, we would have been out of business by now, but we would have had a hell of a run. There's a picture of the big guy right there. Greatest offensive line coach in the history of all time. And listen, Gambo, we're going to let you run. Thank you so much for taking the time with us, brother.
Take care, Dan. Later, JB.
Peace and love, brother.
All right, bye.
All right, that was Coach Peter Gambardella. I think that was a good interview. Commodore, you handled yourself well. We're going to allow you to do your Commodore's Corner or report or whatever the hell you call it. But I think the most encouraging thing that we got out of that interview with Gambo was that he said football will be back. He's confident that the kids will be in shape in time, and given that they only need 10 days to legally play a game, I think that there's a lot of encouraging things there in the digital world. It seems like if we continue on this track, that high school football might not be affected